Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is Sarah Haas, and you're listening to the Boss Body Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. And I cannot wait to introduce our guest today. Her name's Elizabeth Aylor, and I have just recently gotten to know her. And let me tell you, she is a superstar. She's a holistic nutritionist. She is a conditioning and strength specialist. She also has a BS in kinesiology, and she specializes in female hormones and gut health. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So she's also the host of the wellness show, the Iron Beauty podcast. And she is incredible on Instagram. You need to look her up. She was named one of the top 100 women fitness trainers and influencers. And she's also worked with tons of A-listers and celebrities and professional athletes and actresses and famous singers. So I am so happy to have her on the show today. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for that really kind intro. I am so excited. Gut and hormones are my specialty, and there's so many things going on. And all us women want weight loss and had that stubborn belly fat, and that little missing link that we're going to hit today. I know it.
I know, and that's like you said it. It's you hit the nail on the head. We're women, we're experiencing that kind of creeping weight, and we've got things going on with our hormones. And I can't wait for you to talk about the gut health because that's one of the missing pieces that so many of us overlook. And that's your area of expertise. So I can't wait to dive into that. But first, you have a really compelling, incredible personal story. You've overcome so much, and that has really led into the way that you work with women and your areas of expertise. So I would love to hear a little bit about your story and your background and how you came to be where you are now.
Awesome. I would love to share it because I feel like the stories always relate to people, especially when you go through it your whole life. And because when you have all these health issues going on, sometimes you feel alone in it. And my journey actually started when I was 13 years old. I bumped into a girl at school and I had severe OCD. I didn't know it. She had lice all the time. I started counting things. I went home. I wouldn't even wash my clothes in the washer after my parents did because I thought I would get lice if it was in there. And I wouldn't go back to school. My parents put me on antidepressants because that's what the doctor said. I was in therapy and homeschooled for a few years. I felt numb. I was on such high dose of this. I gained over 50 pounds in 1 year. I was feeling really nauseous on this medication. I was on Paxil and Zoloft back and forth, and I hated everything about myself. I was just uncomfortable in my clothes. On top of that, I had underlying gut issues that gut wasn't a thing back then. So I had eczema, I had rosacea all over my face. I would have to use steroid creams. I would use Aquaphor all over my lips because they would be cut and bleeding all the time. And people would actually call me like fish face and fugly because I have big eyes and because I had all this stuff on me. So I was bullied. I hated myself when I did go back to school. I would sit in the bathroom and eat my lunch in the stall. That's how embarrassed I was of myself. And it got to a point I was, getting in with cheerleading, and there was this girl, she was on a vegetarian diet. And I'm like, you know what? She looks great. I'm going to do that. By then, I was around 15 years old, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to start flushing the medicine down the toilet. I don't need it. I know it's not the right thing to do, but this was me. I felt so sick on it. And they ended up actually, I think, disqualifying or getting rid of that medication now because it was giving so many health issues long term. But I started flushing that down. I went on a vegetarian diet and I went to my first boxing class. And you guys think, you see all these people on the internet, they're in great shape, they're always been in great shape. Kid you not. 2 minutes into the class, I was in the bathroom about to get sick because I was so out of shape. I went to the car. My mom was waiting for me. We went to Jamba Juice, and I said, you know what? I'm going to spend the next few months really focusing on my diet, my nutrition. I was, still in high school. So I picked up Dance Revolution for it was summer, Christmas break. And I lost doing Dance Revolution and my vegetarian diet, which it was off of special case. It was not good. And I lost 25 pounds there. And I got myself to a place where I got myself back to that boxing gym and I was able to complete a class. And that was like my big thing. But here's the deal, that was just the beginning, because over the next several years, I actually started struggling with even more health issues. I'm an extremist because I had that OCD in the past. So I went from vegetarian to vegan. I went raw vegan. I've done fruitarian. I've lived off of bananas for 3 months straight to do this mono fruit island because I was actually ended up a few months later into doing the raw vegan, looking 6 months pregnant and figuring out I had parasites. So I was finally feeling better. I was getting into college, and then boom, I woke up with that pregnant looking belly. And that's when all my symptoms and everything just got to the next level. I went to doctors after doctors. Like my whole college, I was in going to school during the day. I was in my car crying throughout the day because I was so uncomfortable because I looked 6 months pregnant, just sipping a sip of water, not even waking up in the morning. I couldn't go to the bathroom, no matter how many laxatives I took, how many natural things. I worked with herbalists. I had over 150 colonics. I finally found the right person to figure out that I had 15 types of parasites. I had H. pylori really bad at the highest levels, and that causes stomach ulcers. I had SIBO, but I didn't figure out that until years later. I had mast cell activation. I was to a point where I could only consume 3 ingredients. And if I ate off of those ingredients, then I would have a reaction. I would look pregnant and my day would be ruined because my stomach would be in so much pain. Even jogging pants would hurt me. I was training still. I was a marathon runner for my school, University of Tennessee. I did the triathlons. I was pushing it on all levels, trying to get my degree, trying to study everything and make myself game plans to heal myself because no one could. And I was at my wits' end. And I was sent to this place because they're like, oh, mucoid plaque, that's the one thing in your gut we didn't hit and we didn't clean out, and that can lead to all these gut issues. And where it got was I went to this healing center. You're supposed to drink this concoction. It breaks down this mucoid plaque, which is the buildup in your intestinal wall, because we have 22 feet of our colon. We can hold on to a lot of toxic poop, guys. If we're not pooping, this is not a good thing. We should have 2 daily bowel movements. Feeling complete. That's goals for all my clients. And then what happens was you're supposed to drink this stuff, and then you should have to go to the bathroom and you rid yourself of all this plaque that could be built up in your colon. Yeah, nothing worked for me. Not even with the colonic, I still couldn't release. They thought I had a blockage. They sent me to the hospital. My mom flew down. Um, Nothing. I was in the car and I said, Mom, you know what? I'm done going to doctors. I'm done taking all these herbs and these medications because I did the triple therapy for the H. pylori. That turned me yellow, felt even worse, had acidosis from the thing. There was so much kind of stuff that went down throughout this. But I sat down and I'm like, okay, I created my own game plan. I got rid of the parasites. I researched everything about biofilms. So I got rid of the stuff because I would kill the parasites with the medicine. And then a month later, I would be back to looking pregnant and have all the issues back because the eggs would rehatch. I looked at my gut microbiome, specific things to add in there to really help get it to where the bad stuff doesn't want to live, to rebalance out. And I actually healed my gut myself. I ended up going back. I'm not vegetarian or vegan anymore. I'm a GAPS practitioner, so the bone broth and all of that, I couldn't do that because of the histamines in there. And people that have high histamine, that actually makes them worse. Probiotics can make people worse. And we don't know this because we Google everything on gut health. And well, I know we're going to hit that. But a little bit deeper into my journey, I ended up after that um, getting into kind of this time area where I had chronic stress going on. I lost my period for over 7 years in this makeup of everything because I was close to 200 pounds when I was 13. And then I got an eating disorder and I got down to 90. So everything has kind of been up and down. But I ended up getting undiagnosed thyroid issues because the doctors don't run the right tests. My gut motility got worse. They thought I had PCOS. They thought I even had endometriosis. They did the ultrasound and saw the ulcers, but the blood work didn't match up. I had such painful periods. I ended up, what do you call it? Going postmenopausal in my 20s. My hormones were tanked out, and I never had
Wow.
birth and I balanced everything back out naturally because I went back to school after kinesiology. I went back for nutrition. I created my own healing. And I mean, when I started my business, it was all on macros and it was all on cutting your calories. And what I've learned is that us women, and I've done keto, I've done carnivore, I've done vegan, raw vegan, fruitarian, I've done the intermittent fasting, and all of these women that come to me, they're doing all the things. They want fat loss. And all of these things sometimes can put our body in this chronic state of stress. And if we don't get to the root cause and we have an imbalance in our gut and we're not absorbing and assimilating our nutrients, our liver is our major detox organ. If we went through a period of big drinking and then we have not good gut despite gut bacteria in, those are the conversion factors for our thyroid. That runs our metabolism. So it's like everything goes in a system. And what I've learned is actually by focusing on more of the holistic side, the gut, the hormones, the stress, the lifestyle, your absorption, your assimilation, I have clients actually training less, losing weight. I have a lady training 3 days a week from home. She's a busy mom of 5 kids. She travels every other month for a month to Europe. And we have made this gut healing journey by healing her gut. She went from 1,000 calories to 2,200, down 27 pounds and 8 inches in her waist. And no diet worked for her prior. And it's just crazy because I'm seeing more and more things like this on a daily basis. The more that I talk about my gut, I get more and more cases with people with breast implant illness, molds, Lyme's disease. They have a foot of their colon removed. And everybody's body is different. And it's about time that we start treating everybody as an individual and get down to the root cause versus just focusing on how can I get fat loss? How about how can we get your health? Because when we get your health, your body transforms with it. And then you feel amazing too. So it's like hand in hand.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So that is an incredible story. Just everything that you went through, just struggling with so many different things. And I know that 13 to 15-year range, that's a tough time, especially for women. And all the craziness that was going on in your body and also with your mental health, it was just like a perfect storm to it's like dominoes. One thing's going wrong and then it sets off another, and you were trying all the things, and then you had all these doctors. And I know a lot of women get into that. We want to know what's wrong. We don't understand why we don't feel good, or why we can't release weight, or why we're bloated or tired or whatever it is. And we see a hormone doctor and they just focus on hormones, or we see a mental health professional and they just give us medication. And not that any of those aren't good and aren't the right thing, but I love what you said. You've got to get to the root, really go in and see, like, where is this imbalance coming from? And then you can start to take the steps. And I think it's amazing that you were able to just figure that out yourself. You empowered yourself to take charge. And I think sometimes, that's what we have to do. Not that the doctors and specialists, their guidance is amazing too, but you were experiencing all these conflicting, different things, and their therapies weren't working for you. And getting to the root, that's the key. And so I love that that's what you do now for women. So let me ask you, how do you think that what you were doing with your diet or your health is what caused your gut to become so imbalanced? Like, what was the root of what was going on?
So for me, like I said, when I was a little girl, so my mom didn't tell me this. I actually always had dairy allergies because every time she gave me the stuff, I would have severe gut issues. And even all through middle school, when I was trying to lift, trying to lose the weight, I was doing those whey protein shakes and I had severe gas. My skin was all the histamines. So I believe that when I was a little girl, I had insufficiencies growing up and undiagnosed kind of like autoimmune issues because that eczema was over my whole body. So when I ended up doing my extreme diets, I think that kind of was a triple effect. When you cut out your food for long periods of time, your gut goes with it. Not your gut goes with it, but your gut diversity goes with it. So, for example, when I had when I went carnivore, you're cutting a lot of food out. You're going very to limited ingredients. So when you add things back in with a little bit of fiber and stuff, you feel those reactions. Same thing with other foods. I cut out basically, I just ate fruit for months. So that's a lot of sugar. I believe it was a mix of a lot of different things for me. It was more so getting down to what my insufficiencies were, low stomach acid. That's why I wasn't, low stomach acid was the reason I wasn't denaturing the protein that kills off bad bacteria in the gut that helps break down amino acids. I had a lot of the stress, the chronic anxiety, hence the OCD. The serotonin was a thing for me. The gut and the brain go together. So I almost was looking at, okay, where are my insufficiencies? I can't just kill parasites and get rid of them. What do I need to do to set my body up so the stuff doesn't want to come back? What were the things that actually flared me up again? Always a chronic stress, getting down to the insufficiencies and healing that gut. It's not about grabbing every probiotic. It's about finding the right things that are for your body. I don't know if that really makes sense, but mine,
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like it wasn't so much of, hey, this exact thing here. It was more so of, like, for example, if a client comes to me, I'm like, okay, when did your symptoms and everything start? And when they start sharing their story and everything, we start getting to it. They're like, well, I went through a major divorce and moved across the world. And then I ended up getting sick, and then COVID came, and then boom, everything tripled. There's a lot of trauma attached to things. We hold emotions with our gut. And then when we do all of these other things, tons of alcohol, we're doing triggers. You may be consuming a food allergen that you don't even know and eating a sensitive food, and that could be even causing inflammation. So like I said, it's really hard to say specifically for each individual, but it's really about, that's why I do, like, we do weekly calls and we go over all the food and we see how they're feeling and make the adjustments to find what is actually aggravating that one person and what is actually working for them and adjusting that so they feel better fast.
Yeah. So your symptoms, I always say the body's natural state is health. And your symptoms are your body's way of sending you a message. Hey, something's out of balance. So I want to just roll back for a second because I know that we've heard a lot, like in the media or whatever, gut health, gut bacteria, all these things. We hear about it, but I think a lot of people aren't really sure what that means. Can you just talk to us a second about, okay, what's supposed to be in our gut? What's not supposed to be in our gut? And why is that getting out of balance? And why does that matter exactly?
Absolutely. So I call the gut the second brain. So if you got things going on with your gut, when I had an imbalance, I actually had the most anxiety. That was like a huge thing. When your gut doesn't feel good, your brain doesn't feel good, and it runs your mind. So there's actually more bacteria in our gut than cells in our body. And all of those little brain links, there's nerves in there. And they function in the body in so many different ways. So if something's off in the gut, you feel it throughout your body. We want to think of our gut as that's where we are absorbing and assimilating all of our nutrients. You may have heard you're not what you eat, you are what you absorb. If we're under chronic stress, we're getting depleted by our vitamins, our minerals, if we're not getting in all those nutrients. But not only are we getting them, if we're not absorbing them and have the right, you know, stomach acid to denature the proteins. So it's not about hitting X amount of protein. It's, are you absorbing your protein to build the muscle? But the gut is literally where you're absorbing everything. And if that is thrown off, you're going to have imbalances with the hormones. You may have stress thrown about. Even with our microbiome, as I mentioned before, with our thyroid, our liver, that, and well, thyroid conversion happens in the liver, but you also need the right bacteria to help with that conversion. So if we don't have the right gut microbiome, or if we have something called leaky gut, which is holes in the intestinal lining and your food's going into your bloodstream, and you could have autoimmune kind of triggers from that causing more gas and bloating and irritation, all of these things, they throw your body out of homeostasis. And that, like I said, that can lead to you're not absorbing and assimilating nutrients. That to lead to more chronic stress and anxiety. That can lead to more food sensitivities and reactions, skin issues. As I mentioned, when I had a lot of histamine issues with the gut, I had a lot of eczema, rosacea. I have clients that have food sensitivities and they'll get acne all on their skin if they consume dairy. And if we cut dairy out after years of struggling, boom, their skin clears up. So it's really about the right microbiome, but at the same time, there's so many things that actually go against us and get rid of the good bacteria. If we were a C-section baby, we're not getting the good bacteria from our mom. If we were bottle fed, and that's where all of our microbiome starts at development as a baby. And then if we're put on antibiotics, multiple courses, say you're getting a lot of yeast infections, we're having chronic cravings, we're having chronic fatigue, we're having iron. I have clients that come to me with autoimmune and having severe anemia, and they're getting literally blood bags every single year, and we get it to where they don't have to after 10 years by healing their gut, because it's about our conversions. That's where everything happens in the gut. And when there's damage to the villi, you're not going to be absorbing your nutrients. You're not going to be feeling, if there's an imbalance, you're going to get the cravings. So I think the big takeaway is a lot of different things, stress, alcohol, all of these can throw off the gut. And I did a really good series on my YouTube with this on what leaky gut is, things that can contribute to it, and how to heal it. But a lot of us do have that leaky gut going on. So we just need to look at, okay, if we have things going on, what can we do to start focusing on better gut health, not just through our foods, but through our lifestyle?
Yeah. So it's about consuming the right things so that you are feeding the beneficial bacteria. So the right foods for your body. And you mentioned those extreme diets where you're cutting out whole food groups and that kind of thing. And that's why I'm absolutely not a proponent of any of the extreme fad diets. We need a balance. We need the right balance. And there's a reason for carbs, and there's a reason for protein, and there's a reason for fats, and there's a reason for all the vitamins and minerals that come in different foods and different fruits and vegetables. And we have to eat a variety. Otherwise, we're damaging our gut. And then the other thing that you hit on is if we have a sensitivity or an allergy, then that's tearing down our gut. That's causing the leaky gut, or it's causing the wrong bacteria to take over and crowd out the good bacteria that we need. And then we get all these digestive problems and skin issues and autoimmune and all of that. So, I mean, that's kind of mind blowing that the gut controls so much of that. And you also touched on that it can affect your mental health.
Yeah. I've had,
Explain what you mean by that.
so your gut brain connection. So think about it. When your stomach doesn't feel good, you're getting more anxiety. You have more, like, so much. When you're not pooping and stuff, everything is kind of linked with that. But here's the deal. So a few of my clients, a lot of them come to me when they got these gut issues. They're on antidepressants, they're on Xanax, all of that. We're not sleeping through the night through specific nutrients. I mean, I had a lady the other day. She's like, she's a nurse. She traveled all last week. She had such severe gut issues. We just started a week ago. And one of her biggest things was she's like, Elizabeth, I have no energy. I have chronic fatigue. I have no energy to move. I have to travel all the time. And I'm going to be doing 12-hour shifts. So she's like, my sleep is going to be minimal next week. I gave her a few tools. We changed a few things with her diet. And she even told me last week, she's like, Elizabeth, my bloating went to a zero on this busy trip. And she's like, this is the key. This is the big one for me. She's like, I forgot to bring my medicine. Not only did I feel fine, and she's been on it for 10 years, her antidepressant, she said, I actually had less sleep last week, but I've never woken up feeling more rested. I feel like I've had such a deep sleep. So it's crazy how there's so many different things linked. But when you start healing the gut and you have all of these other health issues coming about, don't always don't always just focus on the gut. We have to look at, when we're on our healing journey, what are the other positives that are coming to us? Because I see it all the time. I have clients come to me, they don't realize how, they know how bad they feel. And then when I get them feeling really, really good in a week or two and we're getting things rolling, and just one little thing maybe goes off, like, say, for example, they're like, I didn't lose a pound this week, even though we're eating more food and we have zero bloating and we're going 2 poops a day. And their mind goes around like, do you remember that we weren't even pooping? We weren't doing all of that. And I'm like, always dial in and kind of just like, look at the positives. We jump too fast when we have gut issues. If we feel like we're reacting to a food, we cut everything out again. And it's just really about being aligned in your body. I even had a client today. She had a lot of fear of food before coming to me, as all of us do with gut. And she's like, that first week I was feeling so good. And she's a similar person with, like, similar to my journey, where she lost her cycle. So when we lose our cycle, we could still be making we could still be ovulating because she's not in period postmenopause, and just not making enough progesterone to shed the egg. So she's having all of these symptoms this week of the slower transit time because we're having the imbalances, the more slowed bowels, the more bloating, the more anxiety around it. That all comes around when we're getting our period and our ovulation. But she doesn't know exactly. So with her, she failed. She changed her diet. Something went wrong. I looked through everything. It's not that. We're going to start actually cycle tracking with her, seeing if we could find some trends, which is something that I did in the past. And this is not something that like they teach in school. This is just, for a while, I realized a trend was I had no period, but I was always getting the PMS symptoms and thinking it was the food at the 17th of every month. And I started tracking that, seeing a trend. And when I got my period back, it was all aligned. So it's really about just with the individual, when we have a gut issue going on or a health issue going on, is we have to look at the body in a whole system, and also be reminded of the positive things that are happening. Yeah, that scale may not be moving if you're in period and postmenopause every single week because you're stressed or your hormones, but look at the body composition changes, look at the energy changes, look at the craving changes, and really celebrate those wins, because it's very, very hard for you guys to celebrate any wins when we are struggling with all the health issues and we think we're not worthy of even getting better.
Yeah, that's so true. I want to mention just briefly that we're not necessarily telling everyone out there, hey, ditch your medications,
Oh,
don't take your antidepressants, whatever. Like, we're not doctors.
nope.
But what you're saying is empower yourself with information, find out what side effects come with medications you're taking or supplements you're taking, and get the information so that you can decide the best course forward,
That's
because
exactly it.
everything intermingles, so it's all related. So medications you're taking, if you had antibiotics, if you're on birth control, what you're eating, what you're drinking, your emotions. And you also mentioned that this affects your hormones. So the gut is really where it all starts. Talk a second about the hormone connection, because I think that's something that we haven't necessarily put together.
Yeah. So I want to kind of circle it around a different way with that. So I want to kind of relate it more towards women and what we're doing right now for weight loss. Because I feel like a lot of individuals were looking for the weight loss, and then we're like, oh, maybe it's my hormones going on over here. So the thing is we go for weight loss and we Google weight loss. What are we going to do? We're going to do these low carb diets. We're going to do more intermittent fasting. We're going to add in more cardio. We're going to try to push it a little bit harder, cut our calories a little bit more, get a little restricted, maybe take out the carbohydrates. Yeah, that may work in your 20s. But once we start hitting, and I'm seeing people hit perimenopause, which is around a 5 to 10 year time frame. Menopause is 1 day. Perimenopause is when you're having the shifts, losing muscle at a rate of 40 to 50% faster. You're having changes in your estrogen, progesterone, and yes, testosterone. So you are losing more muscle. You may not feel strong in the gym. You may feel like you're getting that belly, that pear shape, that stubborn belly fat, or you're holding it more in your hips because of the estrogen dominance going on. And then we push more with these extremes and the keto and cutting our carbs more. And we're putting more stress on our body. And I have people come to me, we're on very low calories, doing all these extremes, and we feel stuck. We feel like we have no energy. We feel run down. We're getting our thyroid tested. They're only testing our TSH and our T4, not even the active form of thyroid, which is the T3. So you could have undiagnosed thyroid issues, which a lot of us have thyroid issues if we're under chronic stress and all these other demands on our body, like the low calories and all of these, going carnivore is very rough. I will tell you, on your thyroid. It like is really hard on your thyroid. And all of these things, they put it in extreme. So we have to look at our body, and in the time of our life where we're at, I believe in doing it smarter versus harder. So with intermittent fasting, yeah, that's great for men, maybe doing the longer periods, their body, their hormones are differently. But what would be that perfect balance for us women? So we're not, our cortisol's highest in the morning. That's a fight or flight response. So by skipping breakfast, you're already going to have more cravings throughout the day and higher cortisol, which is going to promote fat storage. So just by simply getting protein in a meal in the morning, you're setting yourself up for less cravings. It's going to aid in building muscle and losing fat. And protein has a 20% thermogenic effect on food. So if we really look at it instead of, okay, how can we train smarter? How can we, maintain that muscle, do things to help us build and maintain the muscle through perimenopause, to get the stress down, to build our metabolism. I'm seeing the opposite happen with my clients. They're going from not losing weight to actually, feeling amazing, getting their life back, having more time with their family, no cravings anymore, energy, eating more food without the extremes. Because sometimes the extremes put an additional stressor when we're going through this period of life. We're having all these shifts and it's too much on our body. And that's throwing off our thyroid. And then we got gut. And then maybe we go through divorce or we have a trauma over here. And all these little underlying things, they add up. And then I call it, if you think of it, you said this a little bit earlier, it's kind of like dis-ease is when our body's in a state of not ease. We wait till we have the pain to actually even get help for it, which is when it's kind of at the edge. We think we wake up one night and we just have all these health issues going on. The truth is we think of it as a ledge. We're born, everything, the antibiotics, the trauma, you did this, we did that, everything you got your gallbladder taken out. Everything pushes us closer to the edge. There's that one thing that one day that just triples us off the edge, and we have to figure out what that one thing is and start doing things to get you back off the ledge, get the inflammation down in your body back over here to your homeostasis where you feel freaking amazing. And that's the way I look at hormones and gut and even weight loss. I don't look at weight loss. I look at what can we do to get you less cravings, gut balance, you're absorbing, you're assimilating, and the weight loss comes with that. And that to me is just like, I worked with over 1,000 women. It's just like in the beginning of my business, everything was macros and training. And when I switched over, they were getting results prior, but it just it opened up a whole new realm. And I'm so grateful to actually get to work with peri and postmenopausal women. And because I hit so much of that stuff with my hormones and stuff. And I just feel like there's a lot of information that's missing out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and, the perimenopause, menopause, and beyond, it's almost like whatever you've been doing to your body over all these years, all of a sudden, it really starts to add up, and you start getting those symptoms. And you touched on stress and cortisol and how important that is as far as how our body is reacting to life. And so many things can cause that cortisol level to spike. And it's not just
Stress.
traumas and life shifts, which we know, it's also, are you pushing yourself too hard or are you sedentary? You don't want to be one extreme or the other. You want to find that right balance. And it's all about individuality. So these are just incredible, incredible points. And I am just soaking up this information like a sponge. I just think that you are amazing. And I want to tell everybody who is out there listening that Elizabeth has a free meal prep guide. So I'm going to put the link in the show notes so that you can grab her guide. And she is also all over social media, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook. It's Elizabeth Aylor Fitness. And I'm going to put all the links below because I know a lot of people are going to want to learn more from you. Elizabeth is a powerhouse. She is incredible. You've overcome such odds. And we didn't even talk about like how incredibly fit you are, and you've run marathons and all these amazing things, but you are just like an amazing wealth of information and such a shining example of, once you empower yourself with the right tools and the right information and take charge of your health, how you can turn everything around and be who you want to be and live the life you want to be. So thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you for being here today.
I'm so grateful for you too. Can I leave? Can I give you a little message too? One little thing.
Of
So
course.
one little thing that I do want to share is that no, never neglect the mind and the body. You can, this was a big one for me because I was over 200 pounds and then the 90, and I never had the confidence. And you can be whatever weight that you want to be and think you're going to be happy when you get there. But if you don't fall in love with yourself throughout the process, you're never going to be happy. You're never going to be satisfied, and your body is never going to get where you want to do it. I see it every day. And until you start working on your mind, start making that shift, and it's not easy and it takes time. It took me 8 years and I'm still working on it. And once you do that, the body goes with it. But your body can tell if you don't believe in it. Your body can tell if you're saying, I'm never going to get there and I never can. Your body can tell that you're tearing it apart. And I truly do believe that. So your mind goes with your body, and never underestimate how powerful that is. You have to believe that you could heal, believe you're phenomenal, and know that, because that's the most beautiful thing in the world is confidence. And it all comes from within and knowing that you're worthy.
Oh, 100%. Your body hears everything you say to it. And if you think getting to a certain weight or a certain size is going to get you mentally where you want to be, where you love yourself, then that's not the case. That's not how it goes. You have to tap in to your innate worthiness and your amazingness, and then the health is what follows. So thank you. That was an amazing point. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for being here. Thanks for tuning in. It was my honor to have you with us today. Thank you again, Elizabeth. And until next time, I will see you then.